Good day, everyone. This is Patrick from EasyFX Code Trading System, and this is Saturday, the 3rd of September, 2022, and this is the weekly technical analysis for the Euro, the cable, and the Aussie dollar for the first week of September. And among these three majors, the Euro and the Aussie looked quite similar, although they were bearish, and it did try to recover on the Friday, even with better than expected, slightly better than expected non-farm payroll report from the US. But for the cable, it has been a very bearish week throughout, bearish for all the 5 days. So let's take a look in with the Euro first. And it did try to start off bouncing off from near the lows where it hit the previous week at the 0.99, below the parity already, and attempted to recover back above parity for the first 3 days of the week, but then almost hitting the resistance zone, but fell on the Thursday, almost hitting and retesting the low again at 0.99. Did it hit the low for 9914, and the low was at yes, it did test the low for the week, 9911. But then managed to recover back on the Friday. But eventually did retrace its steps almost to where it started off for the start of the day. Let's take a look at the 4-hour time frame, on the shorter time frame. After the non-farm payroll news, it did try to break out higher, but then later on towards the US afternoon, it gave it back and fell back to the 100 pip swing low. So we'll see whether this 99 is still going to hold for next week. It has been holding on since the previous week, where it did test it exactly at 99, but since then it's been trying to recover. However, it still has not been able to close conclusively back above parity again. And this coming week will be a critical one, with the ECB rate decision coming out on the Thursday. Let's move back to the daily time frame, and where they are expected to raise their interest rate by a possible 75 basis points to 1.25% in response to a higher than expected Eurozone inflation, which ticked up higher last week. So that was partly the reason where the Euro has been trying to climb up higher. But after hitting the 78 pip here, or the 21 pip retracement here, or you can manage to, it could not manage to break above the 101. Now on the weekly time frame, it's closed as a doji, so it's been fighting to hold above the previous swing low. So we'll see if this 99 can hold on for another week next week, and if the ECB does raise interest rate aggressively and hawkishly, there could be opportunity for the euro to climb back up. So let's move this. Still keep this as a key support. And the parity level is still an interim resistance zone. And well above that, another 100 pips higher is at the 101. And we can, let's add a trend line here to see whether there's a possible support that with higher lows. All right. Okay, so we'll see if this can hold up. There is a spike through here, but we'll join the first two lows first. Okay, so critical week for the euro. And it stayed neutral. It closed almost where it started at the beginning of the week. So we'll see whether there's any further consolidation, or it's either if it breaks down further, if it breaks this trend line, then it could target the next round figure at 98, where the 138 pip extension is sitting at as well. So there's confluence here with those two levels. But if it does find support, it could dip below again. But if it does find support, then it needs to break out above the parity and close above that, back above the 786 pip. Okay. So if it does dip lower, then that exposes 98. 97 is below, close to the 162 fib as well. So if it does break down to 98, then that's going to be the next key support. That but it has the 98 has to really hold. Otherwise, there's going to be too much weakness in the euro, and we will see as well in the cable. Let's mark this 97. Okay, and that's also right next to the 162 fib extension, but let's leave it for now. So let's compare this with the US dollar index, the DXY, to see how that performed for the week and to see whether it has broken through new highs, while the euro is trying to consolidate until this coming week's rate decision. Okay, let's switch over now. So this is the DXY, the US dollar index, and we finally see a breakout higher on Thursday, where it broke through the 109, the swing high here, previous swing high from previous month, in July. So that's has been culminating or percolating for a few days with better than expected consumer confidence and also ISM manufacturing PMI surprise as well. And then it paused on the Friday with the slightly better than expected non-farm payroll with 315,000 jobs added, about 20K higher than expected. So it's in the ballpark where analysts were expecting, around the 300K mark. So that's still good news for the economy. So now this has broken through, and initially the US dollar did dip lower and managed to fight back and climb back up to close above the swing high of 109. Let's mark this as interim support. This zone here is a major support now at the 38 pip retracement from this swing high. And of course, it's going to be major support. So let's take this up for now. And the next key resistance is at the 110 round figure. The extension at 138 is still above that at 110.80. We'll see when and if it gets there. So if we started the week dipping back below the resistance after attempting to test it again for the third time, testing 109, pull back into the 21 pip retracement before finding support on that was a Tuesday, and then the pause on the Wednesday before pushing up on the Thursday with the ISM manufacturing PMIs. And this now is high since it broke up from this test here, from this high in that's in 2017, so from 5.5 years ago. And, let's extend this past here. And take these out now. Okay. So there could be consolidation this coming week with no major US news. And there could be a wide range of consolidation. There's interim support as well at the 108. That's where the 21 pip retracement is, and up to this recent high. Let's mark this 108 as well. Okay. And we'll mark this as intermediate support. Okay, so there could be consolidation from the 108 right up to the 109.70 region for this coming week. It peaked at the high of 109.73. Okay, so let's move back to the other major pairs to see how the others have correlated with this US dollar index. Let's move on to the cable, where it has been a very bearish 3 weeks now. Let's move to the weekly time frame. 3 consecutive weeks where it's been bearish, and since breaking the lower trend line of this triangle, and it did hit the 115 round figure. Go back to the daily. So that was the support area we are looking at, that just below the 116 and the 138 fib extension. So that was taken out. Now there could be a further bearish sentiment and momentum to move into the 114. There's an extension, 162 fib extension is at 114.30. So that will be a key support zone now. And let's also mark the 114. Oops, let's mark this carefully, 114. Okay, so it could be between in this zone here, right? And the intermediate resistance that's coming up here. At the 118 and the swing low, previous swing low at the 117.16. So this zone is actually a strong resistance now. Let's move this into the 120 round figure. Okay, so very bearish week for the cable, and looks like it's going to run its way down lower until the Bank of England's rate decision the following week after this week, RBA and the ECB. So if take a look at the weekly time frame, if the bearish momentum continues, then 114 is clearly the next target. We'll see if it pushes down lower into the 200 fib extension area. That's already below the 113. So looks very bleak for the cable and the sterling pairs in general. And there's no major news as well this coming week, so it's just exposed to the US dollar movement. And it's also diverging with the euro. So the euro has been finding some support, but not the cable. So it's weakening really fast, and it's already coming into the lows of 2020 when the pandemic first hit. So it's heading right into that region, 114. Going to the monthly, and that's lows from all the way back over since 2006, 15, 16 years. Okay. So there is if the 140, 115 can hold, there is possible support there, and where it could consolidate. To about the 117 area, 115 to 117. But otherwise, if it pushes down into the 114, then it needs to find strong support so that it can hold until the following week. So, but yes, 114 area is a possible target for next week before it attempts to bounce. And it needs to find strong support there. Okay. Let's mark 117 here. And perhaps I'll bring this one down to the 117 area as a key resistance. All right, so from 115, it could hold and up to the 117, or it could just dip to hit 114 before bouncing back up. And it may not reach 117 in that case. So we'll see. We'll see how much movement, how much bearish momentum there is next week before the following week's announcements. All right, let's move on to the Aussie dollar. And the Aussie dollar, there's the RBA key rate decision on Tuesday, where they are expected to increase rate by also another 75 basis points. Rather 50 basis points to 2.35%. ECB was likely to increase higher, but the RBA is expected to raise by 50 basis points. It did dip lower for the week, but from the expected range from 69 down to the 68. So on first part of the week, on Monday, it did try to climb back up, and Tuesday it did spike through, but failed to get past the daily 55 EMA and was rejected and pushed back down into the 68 level. So it managed to fight back on the Friday and close as a inverted hammer on Friday. So there is hope that there could be some support from this area and could climb back up. but it looks like there could be consolidation in this zone between the 68 and the 69. So below that is still a strong support area at the 67, previous test with the swing low here. Let's move this resistance down here to the 38 pip retracement at the 69. So this is going to be an interim intermediate resistance zone. And apart from the RBA rates decision, there's also the Australian GDP figure on Wednesday. So some triggers, potential trigger for the Aussie dollar next week. But it's likely going to be contained within this zone. All right. Let's also mark this area here with the 8 label. Okay. All right. So do check out my other videos on spot gold and dollar yen, and have a safe week and a good trading week, and cheers for now.